I'm drinking peppermint tea right now from my Christmas mug. I got this mug, I can't remember exactly where now, but it has like all these vintage stamps that look like Santa Claus. I love it. And oh, and there's also like a little stamp in the center right here, or like in the middle of the cup. Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. This is Brandon and welcome back to my skincare series. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind tea, specifically Camellia sinensis, or the tea plant where we get our black teas, our green teas, white, oolong teas. If you're anything like me, and if you know me personally, you know my love for tea. Aside from coffee and just pure water, tea is probably my most widely consumed beverage. I've been consuming it since I was, I don't know, pre-kindergarten. Actually, tea, fun fact, was the very first drink I ever poured by myself in like a big pitcher. I remember being like in kindergarten, just pouring my own tea and being very proud of myself. And it was black, unsweetened iced tea. I don't know, that was just like what I grew up on. And lo and behold, there are actually several studies showing that tea, specifically the Camellia sinensis plant, again, like black tea, green tea, is extremely beneficial for the skin in terms of anti-aging, photoprotection or sun protection, as well as helping to protect potentially from pollutants that are in our environment. Anyway, today I'm going to be going over the studies, the research studies that you can actually freely view in PubMed. And I'm going to be talking specifically about the consumption of tea and how that benefits the skin versus the topical application and cosmetic formulations that include things like green tea extract in there. I'll be dedicating a future video on the topical application of tea, green tea, but here we're just going to be talking about the actual beverage and drinking tea. So like I said before, tea, the tea that we normally order in like a restaurant or whatever. So like I said before, tea comes from one plant, the Camellia sinensis plant. And from this plant, we get black tea, green tea, white tea, oolong tea, and there's actually a few other teas that I actually have never had. I think it's like purple tea and red tea. But all of these teas, the green tea, the black tea, the oolong teas, they are all different in regard to how they're processed. Some of the teas, like black teas, are oxidized, they're heated, they're dried, and so you get a richer, darker color. But because of that extra processing for black teas, it also has lower antioxidant compounds than things like green tea and white tea that are heated at very low temperatures, are not heated at all, and just allowed to dry in the sun. White tea is my personal favorite tea. I also love green tea and oolong tea. Again, I love all teas, so it's really hard to pick a absolute favorite. But white tea contains a little bit less caffeine and on the spectrum, more antioxidants because it's less processed compared to things like black tea, even to a certain extent, green tea. Now that sort of like gives me a segue into the actual components of the tea, the antioxidant components. The tea plant, the Camellia sinensis plant, is a rich source of bioactive components, which basically means components like flavonoids and polyphenols that your body can actually utilize. In fact, the tea plant contains up to 4,000 metabolites. Polyphenols are basically plant antioxidants, for lack of a better term or definition, constitute up to 1/3 of those 4,000 metabolites. That's a significant proportion. Tea infusions deliver approximately 2 to 3% flavanol glycosides, so basically like quercetin or quercetin, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, camphorol, as well as myricetin. Quercetin in particular has actually shown some beneficial effects in protecting the skin against photoaging. I'll get into that a little bit later. The flavanols in tea also have antioxidant capabilities. Those are things like catechins. They constitute approximately 20 to 30% of the dry matter of tea. The catechins, as well as the tannins in tea, actually are responsible for that bitter flavor. So if you've ever had strong black tea or strong green tea and you know that bitter flavor, that's actually the tannins, the catechins, some of the antioxidants, those are constituting the bitter flavor. So you know that it's rich in these flavanols, these polyphenol compounds. Now, one of the main antioxidant constituents in tea, particularly green tea, but really all shades of tea, is EGCG, and that stands for epigallocatechin gallate. Ugh. And this is a catechin. Like I said, it brings out the bitterness of the tea, but it's also perhaps the most popularized antioxidant in tea. Again, particularly in green tea. You probably heard a lot of the marketing claims about EGCG, how it helps with weight loss and blood sugar control and etc., etc. Now, despite those lofty claims, EGCG actually does have an enormous amount of scientific evidence to support its use in a variety of health conditions. Now, this video isn't meant to be a doctor's advice. Definitely take it however you like it, but also this isn't a substitute for your provider. If you need any sort of health information, definitely reach out to your clinician or your practicing health provider. Now again, all shades of tea that come from the Camellia sinensis plant, green, black, oolong, white, contain EGCG to some extent. The processing is going to affect the antioxidant compounds and the quantity within the tea. Overall, the consumption of antioxidants and antioxidant-rich foods is consistently associated with a reduction and a mitigation of a lot of age-related conditions and processes. Likewise, studies have shown that tea, the consumption of tea and the subsequent antioxidant uptake of that's within the tea may help to protect the skin from UV radiation. This is probably, in my opinion, the biggest benefit to drinking tea. Up to 80%, if not 90%, it depends on which study you're reading, up to 80 to 90% of skin aging, the visible signs of skin aging, is caused by UV exposure to the naked skin. If you're not wearing sunscreen, your skin is being exposed to these harmful rays. And the radiation from sun actually depletes some of your antioxidants within your skin, within your body. So it does a damaging effect, not only to just the visible appearance of your skin, but also the antioxidant system that your body naturally produces. So the consumption of tea actually helps to protect against the depletion of those antioxidants from UV radiation. And if you're wearing sunscreen, that's just a double extra layer of protection that you can have. In fact, it's probably even more powerful than just consuming tea. In my opinion, I'm not a researcher, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a dermatologist, but based upon the research studies that I have read, this is clearly a benefit. And like I said before, quercetin and other catechins and antioxidants and flavonols in tea can help to just sort of protect against the onslaught of UV that we're exposed to every day, even through the windows. UVA penetrates the windows very easily. UVB doesn't. UVA is the main rays responsible for the aging of the skin. So making sure that you're protected is incredibly important, especially if you are sort of living the anti-aging lifestyle. Not only that, studies have shown that green tea consumption can actually help to reduce UVB or ultraviolet B, the sort of burning rays. It can help to protect the skin against the UVB-induced redness that occurs from sun exposure. And the consumption of green tea has also been consistently associated with a reduction in the incidence of skin cancers. In studies of water aqueous extracts of different teas, so like black tea, green tea, white tea, there was actually a robust protection against UV damage in human fibroblast cell lines in just sort of in vitro laboratory work. Ultimately, green tea, as well as antioxidants in all the shades of tea, can help sort of nullify or drastically reduce or eliminate excess production of reactive oxygen species. And reactive oxygen species basically interfere with DNA and cell and can lead to DNA and cell death. And in that, by just sort of nullifying that excess ROS, or reactive oxygen species, it can actually help to protect further against photoaging or skin aging induced by the sun. Let me just take a tea break. By the way, herbal teas like the green or the peppermint tea that I'm drinking right now, there is really good evidence that mint, in particular spearmint, can actually protect against or can actually help to reduce the conversion of testosterone into DHT or dihydrogen testosterone, which is a just sort of free roaming testosterone that can induce balding, male pattern balding, and facial hair and body hair growth, excess body hair growth. And it does this by sort of interfering with the enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. Spearmint is somewhat of a natural inhibitor of 5-alpha reductase that helps to just sort of prevent that conversion of your normal testosterone into free DHT that induces that sort of the male pattern baldness, the excess facial hair, like in hirsutism and things like that. But getting back to Camellia sinensis, getting back to green tea and black tea, green tea polyphenols may actually increase elastin and collagen fiber content within the skin. Collagen and elastin help bring strength to your skin. When you're younger, you have a great deal of collagen in your skin and elastin, but as time goes on, your body has a harder time making it. So having adjunct measures to help to sort of increase that collagen, especially in combination with sun protection, the sun degrades collagen quickly. And as you get older, your body has fewer defense mechanisms. Again, your antioxidants get depleted with excess sun exposure, so your body really can't help improve the level of collagen in your skin. So having sun protection as well as adjunct measures like a good diet, tea consumption, where there's actual evidence showing that it can increase collagen and elastin production. Now, all these studies aren't 100% conclusive, but there's robust evidence to suggest or to support this. Basically, the polyphenols in tea, white tea in particular, there are some interesting studies about white tea and how the polyphenols in white tea can actually inhibit MMP3 or matrix metalloproteinases, which are enzymes that sort of speed up collagenase and help to break down collagen. So by having a natural inhibitor of that collagenase or of those MMP3s, it's actually like, you know, why not include that in your diet? Why not drink more tea? Again, especially if you are into the anti-aging sort of lifestyle. And I think white tea in particular, because it has probably more antioxidants than green tea because it's less processed, you're going to have a sort of more powerful system working to your advantage. In addition to polyphenols, antioxidants, tea also contains natural anti-inflammatory compounds. And you're probably aware of this, but inflammation is a key driver in many, if not all, skin conditions like acne. One of the key drivers in the pathogenesis of acne is inflammation, and as well as hormones, and there's a few other sort of components that drive acne, but things like psoriasis and eczema, as well as aging. The visible signs of aging has an inflammatory component, again associated with your sun exposure, but also your lifestyle, as well as just sort of endogenous reactions and systems that happen within your body that cause inflammation. Even, you know, things like exercise, it brings forth an inflammatory state, at least initially. So having, again, adjunctive measures like tea or tea consumption can be a powerful way of fighting that inflammation and bringing it somewhat under control. Again, this isn't medical advice, so if you have any sort of inflammatory condition, any sort of inflammatory skin condition, make sure you're seeing your healthcare provider. I was actually reading a study today, and it showed that white tea can actually reduce H2O2 toxicity, or H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is actually a driver of hair graying and hair whitening. If your body doesn't have antioxidant systems, or, you know, over time, if your body has antioxidant systems that are being depleted and your body can't remove hydrogen peroxide, there's going to be a buildup in your hair, and it's going to cause the graying and the whitening of your hair strands. And so to have sort of different components that can help to fight and reduce that toxicity, potentially like white tea, that's a really important measure that you could probably take, especially if you're wanting to just sort of reduce those signs on the skin, in the hair, and also just the way you feel. Now, what are the limitations of tea? Again, these studies that I'm mentioning and sort of referencing throughout this video, they're not 100% conclusive. They aren't phase 3, late stage, 30,000 people studies with a placebo comparator arm. Like, these aren't 100% conclusive. A lot of them are in vitro that are just using human fibroblast or human skin fibroblast cell lines. Some of them are just sort of correlations. So you have to take all this research and just sort of make your own assumption based upon the consistency of that research. So if the majority of the research is showing the same correlations and the same conclusions, you can safely bet that tea is for most people, a safe drink that you can consume. You can just sort of assume that it may provide some benefit, and hopefully it will provide the anti-aging benefits that it is showing in all this research. And also tea, like black tea, white tea, green tea, contains caffeine. Some people are sensitive to caffeine. they can't drink too much of it, and that's totally understandable. And that can be an issue. Caffeine can cause jitterness, and jitterness, is that the word? Jitterness, is that the word? It can disrupt your sleep, especially if you're drinking it past like 12 or 2 in the afternoon. But surprisingly, tea, specifically oolong tea, is rich in an amino acid called theanine. Theanine actually crosses the blood-brain barrier, and when you consume it, it actually can help to mitigate the effects of caffeine in terms of the jitteriness, am I saying that right? Jitteriness? And the sort of like, anxiety inducing effects that caffeine has. It can actually counter those effects of the caffeine. So oolong in particular, I don't know why, even though it has caffeine, whenever I drink it, I always get tired and relaxed, especially when it's hot. I find that it just sort of calms me down. I actually can't drink it while I'm trying to be productive because I get too sleepy and it just doesn't work out for me. But yeah, if you are concerned about caffeine, look into oolong because that is high in theanine. I actually have several different types of tea that I drink on the regular. They're all from Harney and Sons. I have a good mix of like herbal tea and caffeinated tea, like East Friesian, Japanese green tea, oolong tea, black teas. I think for caffeinated teas like black teas and oolong teas, generally speaking, you want to brew it at a temperature of around 212. That's sort of the max temperature that you want. And I have green teas and white teas are a lot lower in temperature. I think it's around like 175 degrees Fahrenheit. And it really helps with the flavor profile as well as just preserving the antioxidants, at least from everything that I've read. Now, I hope this video has helped you learn a bit more about tea and tea consumption. I hope it's motivated you to include more tea and tea varieties into your lifestyle. If you like this video, please hit the like button and go ahead and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below and leave me a comment. Let me know how you like this video. Do you drink tea? What types of tea do you drink? Let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, I'm gonna go finish my peppermint tea. I will see you later. Bye.